All right, before we sew, you need to make sure that you have done all of your interfacing. The lining pieces that are indicated that you should interface, make sure to keep the interfacing out of the seam allowances. For your Decoville or Peltex, fuse it to the wrong side of your piece A exterior front and your, so this piece, and your piece C flap lining. And if you do not, if you don't have fusible interfacing, you can use sew-in Peltex. They even make sew-in Decoville these days. So you can use a sew-in version and baste it to the edges. As an example, here is the small size, and I'm using Peltex, sew-in Peltex for this. So I just basted around the outside edges. But for the large, which is what I'm working on today, I use Decoville. And now what I'm going to do is transfer the markings of the magnetic snaps to the pattern pieces and then install the snaps. So what I usually do is just use my seam ripper to rip out these spots that indicate where the slots go. And I previously have marked the centers on all of the pattern pieces, which will make things a lot easier for sewing later. So I'm just matching that center up now to the piece to help me make sure my piece is straight, not crooked. Then I'm going to just use my pen and mark directly on top of these slots that I just marked, and it goes through. And I'm going to do the same thing for piece C. For your snaps, you're going to need one thin side, one thick side. This is a skinny magnet, but it is, you can tell that it's a little thicker. And then two of the washers. So I'm going to use my seam ripper and carefully rip through these marks. Now this fabric I'm sewing with is upholstery fabric. It's upholstery velvet, and it does not fray, so I'm not going to use any sort of fray check here. But if you have something that does fray, like a cotton or cotton canvas, then you might want to use some fray check on these bits to help them over time. And this is going to be the front of the purse where the purse fastens. So I like to use the thicker side on the front. Now you can add an extra stabilizer if you'd like. You can cut another piece of Decoville Heavy or Decoville Light. I feel like mine is fairly stable because my upholstery fabric is a little thicker and the Decoville Heavy is a little thicker. So I'm going to put on my washer and usually use my a different tool, but you can use some scissors or something to push it out. Now this one, the back of it is going to be on the inside of the purse. There's going to be a pocket there. Nothing's going to rub up against it. So I'm not going to cover the back for this one. For piece C, I am going to cover the back. And the reason why is the back of it is going to be rubbing on the front of the purse. You know what? This one is cotton. So I'm going to get my seam fray check. Just put a little bit on these slits. I'm going to let that dry for a second. And I'm going to show you on this other purse. Here's the magnet, and you might notice I used a little bit of a smaller magnet for the mini. I used 14 millimeters as opposed to 18 millimeter. The back of the magnet, there's nothing to stop it from rubbing on this front flap. So I do like to cover the back with masking tape, or you can use duct tape or painter's tape. Something just to keep it from wearing over time. Also, if you want to use a twist lock, you can use a twist lock here instead. And so you put the lock part here and then the hole here. So this pattern works really well with a twist lock. Okay, now this should be dry, and I'm going to put the snap through this. Now this is a thinner fabric, and I think I am going to add another square of stabilizer just to help this over time. So I grabbed another piece of Decaville Heavy, and I'm going to cut the two slits in it, cover the back of, put them through the prongs through those slits, take my other washer and bend them outwards. And now I'm going to take some masking tape and cover the back. Okay. So for now, I'm going to set this piece C aside. I do not need it. I just need my A pieces. And I also need my inside pocket piece. So the pocket piece is, I believe, piece E, but I might be wrong. So I need my, the pocket pieces are identical for the front and the back. So you need one of these pocket pieces, and you need your zipper, or if you're using zipper tape, you need your zipper tape and a zipper pull. And in the pattern, I give the dimensions on how long of tape and zipper you need for these. So I have my zipper pull and my number 5 zipper tape. And the way I like to do it is, some people are really good at getting both ends on at the same time. I do one side and then the other side, and I have to work it a little bit. It's also really hard to do on camera. There's a lot of really cool zipper jigs and things like that. But I just get it on that way. And then, it's my first time using this particular zipper pull. It's very heavy. There. it's a little crooked, so I might, I think, well, maybe it is. Yeah, I've got it off 1 by 1. So I'm going to try this again so I can have it not crooked, but I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, I did it again, and now it is more even. So I have my zipper ready to go. And I have my piece A front lining. And my piece E, I believe, pocket piece. And I'm going to place my pocket piece on top of my lining, on top of the right side of the lining. Okay, I apologize for switching fabrics on you, but after I did my original recording, I changed the pocket placement and the instructions, and so I want to show you the correct way, correct place to put the pocket. So you will place it centered in the middle, and it will be 1/2 inch away from the top edge. And when you are making your pocket location, it's going to be 1 inch down from the top, and it's going to be 1/2 inch wide. So I usually take my ruler and I measure 1.5 inches from the top and mark down 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and that's going to be the width of my zipper. And I'm going to do that in several places. Sorry if you hear my kids being very loud in the background. Even all the way upstairs in a different room, their voices carry. Alright, so I did not connect these dots to make a rectangle, but I'm just going to sew dot to dot. And I'm going to go ahead and sew this rectangle. But I'm actually going to go back to the original fabric to do the rest of that. So just keep in mind that originally I had the pocket a little lower and sewn a little higher, so it's going to look a little different, but this is the correct way to place it. So I start at in the center. I have a button to keep my needle down, so if you have one, use that. And as I start sewing, I'm going to sew with a normal stitch length of 2.5. But as I start to approach this corner, I'm going to start lowering my stitch length down. Now it is at 1. And I'm going to stitch this corner at a 1.0 stitch length. Same with this side. This is just a tip I learned years ago. It's a tailoring tip for doing welt pockets on pants, and I find that it serves me very well for getting pockets that don't have puckers at the corner. So I start sewing, then as I sew, I move it back to a 2.5 stitch length. And I do apologize that my machine is not lit underneath. My bulb went out and I tried to replace it, and I ended up really messing up the bulb. It was an old bulb, and the bulb part broke off, and I just have the metal part in there. So until I can get it checked out, I'm sewing without a light bulb, and I just have my lamp overhead to help me see. It is a pain for videos, though. I wish I had more lighting right here. Alright, I need my seam ripper, and I use it to start right in the middle. I start seam ripping just a little bit, and then I switch to my shears. I cut right up along the middle, and then up to the corner to the stitches, but not through them. Same thing on this side. So now I'm going to push my lining pocket through to the back. And seeing that these are both cotton, I can probably go and press it. But for now, I'm just going to press it with my fingers because it holds the crease pretty well. I'm just going to push it through. And press this fold with my fingers on all edges. But for a really crisp look, it's always better to press it if your fabric allows it. Okay, so it looks like this on this side, and this on the other side. I might need to go press this. This does not want to stay flat. But other than it not wanting to stay flat, you can see that you might be able to see there's not puckers like there sometimes can be when you do these zipper pockets. Okay, so for the next step, you can use double-sided tape to hold it in place, or you can just put your zipper in place and hold it with your fingers. That's generally what I do. And your zipper head can go either direction. I'm going to put mine, since it zips this way, I'm going to put it on the left. That's just how I prefer it. Oh, and I do need to change to a zipper foot. And I generally raise my stitch length just a little bit. This is a giant zipper pull. Okay, so I'm centering my zipper. And I stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. My zipper looks metallic, maybe in the video, but it is nylon, so I can sew right over it. All right, I am back with this fabric and zipper again because I wanted to show how to sew the back. It looks just a little bit different than the other version. So once you've sewn your zipper and are sewing the back, turn it so your fabric is right side up and fold it out of the way. Then you will see this. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. You will fold this in half so the corners meet, and keep your zipper foot on because that'll help when sewing. So we're going to sew, and it's going to be about a 1/2 inch seam allowance because we're going to be sewing right up next to the zipper over this triangle. And then we're going to stop and pivot and turn the piece sideways. And now you're going to, the reason why you need the zipper foot is so that we can go right next to this and try to sew on top of this little raw edge of the zipper here. And the reason why I like doing this is if I used to sew up here when sewing pockets, but then sometimes you put something in the pocket and if it's heavy, it kind of falls down. So I've switched to sewing them up here on top of this, much like if you were doing a zipper facing, because then when you put something heavy in the zipper, inside the zipper pocket, it doesn't fall down like before. Then I'm going to sew or fold this edge over and sew over this triangle right here. So this is the finished pocket, and when you put something inside and push it down, it is fastened right here because you sewed so close to the edge, and so it's not going to make the pocket collapse a little. So you are now finished with the zipper. Okay, so now we take our zipper lining, or our piece of the lining that has a zipper on it, and we take our piece A exterior, the one that has the magnet, and these get sewn together, right sides together. And the seam allowance for this pattern is 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. I don't need a zipper foot anymore. Okay, then these pieces are turned right side together, or sorry, wrong side together. And I am going to top stitch across the top. And baste around these curved edges all at the same time. So I'm going to, this piece is a little warped, so I gotta straighten it a little bit. But I am going to put these clips all around the outside. And then I'm going to top stitch across the top edge and baste these other edges together all on the same step. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my pieces in the camera, and I am Struggling with that. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to increase my stitch length at the top. Move this zipper pull out of the way because it's just so thick. And I'm increasing the stitch length just a little more while I baste it. And I'm basting about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And that will eventually be covered up by binding. Alright, and this front piece is complete. You can set it aside for now.